Welcome to the Writing with Purpose podcast, where I, Anna Woolliscroft, chat with fellow writers and outdoor enthusiasts about how we can embrace creativity and curiosity to live a life full of adventure that doesn't feel like hard work. I delve into exploratory conversations about my two loves in life, writing and nature connection, as part of my mission to share the well-being benefits they both bring. It's wonderful to have you here today. On today's Writing with Purpose podcast, I'm chatting with Katya Willems about outdoor microadventures and making a living out of what you love. Brilliant. Well, welcome, Katya, to the podcast. I'm very excited to speak to you because you do things at the moment in your business and you have all of these these different ideas that I would just love to do myself. So I'm very much looking forward to talking to you, particularly about sort of getting outside and your connection with the great outdoors, because that's a really big thing for me. It's sort of, it's a value to actually just spend daily time really connecting with nature and getting outside. So I'd love to hear from you if you want to sort of introduce yourself and explain what it is that you do with the Microadventures and, some of the ways that you kind of, I suppose, transform's the wrong word, but transitioned your career into something that you just love to do day in, day out.
Okay, so my name is Katya and I'm in a microadventure and the business is called Katya's Microadventures. And my partner, Jamie, also works with me on the business. And basically, Microadventures is about giving people immersive experiences. And although that is predominantly taking people for hikes, taking people paddleboarding, taking people for wild swims, or anything kind of outside like forest bathing or having a business kind of outdoor nature day, that kind of vibe. Yeah. Because I think being outdoors in nature allows you to think differently. You tune into yourself, you naturally calm down. And it's amazing what insights you have when you're outside. And if you combine that with having a new experience, say you're trying paddleboarding or wild swimming for the first time, it's a double whammy.
Yeah.
We try new things. Our brain likes novelty.
Yes.
So it kind of fires lots of things up. It fires up our creativity. It's a confidence boost. It's a well-being boost. Good things just tend to come up in your brain when you do these things. And I'm there to catch that stuff, to kind of try and nurture that process a bit more so you get even more out of it. But there's also additional things other than the kind of outdoorsy stuff where I'm just collaborating with all sorts of creative people. Because for me, immersive experience can be craft or cooking or anything really. Yeah. So I've run some Buddha Bowl workshops with my chef friend Ginny, which have been amazing. And I'm doing an interior workshop with my friend who's an interior designer, Lucy, in October. And it's anything like that. So it's a massive opportunity for me to do lots of things I really like doing.
Yeah. So if you fancy doing something, then exactly, you can create a workshop or a day out or something, either by yourself or in collaboration with somebody else to immerse yourself, as well as introducing, the client, if you like, if you use that word for people that come on the Microadventures with you. So a double whammy for you and for them, isn't it?
And I just get a lot out of collaborating with people, because I feel it brings new ideas, new energy, new chemistry. It's just a really nice thing.
Yeah. And I suppose from a scientific point of view, that's where, the neuroscience comes in, isn't it? And every time we try something new or we do something in a different way to how we're normally used to doing it, it creates these new neural pathways.
Yeah.
Is that the right terminology?
Yeah.
So you become more open to this sort of thing, and you become more expansive and more creative, or whatever term you choose to sort of use yourself, having a great experience or learning more stuff. It's kind of scientifically proven that this works.
Yeah. Don't they call it like a virtuous circle or something?
Oh, do they? I've not heard that.
Yeah, like when things kind of perpetuate themselves for good. It's the opposite of a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Break cycles.
Yeah.
And you create new patterns.
Yeah, definitely. So what are you finding that people are drawn to at the moment? Is there any sort of one thing that you get more?
People are really obsessed with paddleboarding. Paddleboarding thing is very new for us because we've only just got the qualification. So I've yet to actually run anything with the paddleboarding. Without fail, people just sort of really want to talk to us about that. So I've got to get an event in the diary soon.
Well, sign me up for that when you do that, because I'm not that far away from you.
Hey,
I tried it once about 3 years ago, and it was in October, the end of October, so it was really cold. But the one thing that I would say to people is when they try anything, like well, not just that, but I suppose anything, whatever you're fearing, try and do that sooner rather than later. So I didn't want to fall into the water because it was the end of October, it was freezing cold. I thought I was going to have a less than enjoyable experience if I took a dip. But as soon as I fell in, because it was going to be inevitable, I enjoyed it so much more because that fear had gone, and I was just able to, as you put it, really get immersed into what I was doing and enjoying
literally immersed.
Literally exactly in the water. So it's anything like that is brilliant. And so if I could, you touched a bit about the creativity and you doing all of these new things to enjoy yourself and try things yourself. Is that how you stay creative, by trying new things and getting outside? Is it?
I think it's really funny because I worked at the BBC for 10 years. And for a lot of that time, I was like, they're creatives, the program makers. I was personal assistant. I'm not. I just like being around creativity. And increasingly at the BBC, I started running a lot of events, more and more involved in being creative. But I still didn't quite see myself as creative. And 7 years ago, I left. And I turned 40 and I was like, I just want to be creative. I want to be creating myself. It felt it's like a calling.
Yeah.
I have to do this. I was very creative as a young child. And then it just kind of got ripped away from me. When you go to secondary school and it becomes all about kind of academic stuff.
Yeah.
And like when I was at primary school, it was just everything to me. Writing stories, drawing pictures. I was really proud of being just so original. Whatever I came up with was really different to everybody else. And I loved that. And I think there's something about, when you get into your 40s, I think you start harking back to the younger you, the kind of 10-year-old you. And I just needed to see if I could create. Started a food blog. And got a really, really good response from people about my writing and my pictures and the journeys I was going on with the food blogging. Like I did loads of challenges and stuff. I think it all started from there, and just increasingly on my business journey, creativity has been at the heart of it. I've just always had to, in the last 7 years, be doing things to just immerse myself in creativity. And it's almost been at odds with me earning money. Like come before the bottom line. And sometimes I'm like, what am I doing? I'm getting more money. But I look back on those 7 years and I just think, wow, it's been amazing. It's been so rich. And I can see how much I've changed, how much I've blossomed, how much confidence I've gained from doing all these things. And it makes you feel alive.
It does, So although you say you reached your 40s and it was that last 7 years are probably some of the happiest years of your life, because you were, I guess, kind of being authentically you with being creative. And I totally agree with you when you say, there's a certain point at school when you kind of lose that childlike playfulness and that enthusiasm to explore, and it's almost like it's not beaten out of you. But with the education system, you've got to perform, you've got to do all these subjects that you're not really interested in, like mathematics and some sciences. I say some because I always quite like biology, and there's certain things, isn't there, that you have to do, you don't want to do, and it's very constrained, and you've got these boundaries that you've got to operate in, and it really does just quash your creativity.
Yeah.
And then when I think you reach a certain age, you think, I'm not going to stand for this anymore. I'm just going to explore what it is that I want to do. And there might be a few ups and downs and things like that. But I think you're absolutely on the right track of doing what you want first. And then that kind of emulates the people that you're talking to, and people get drawn into your enthusiasm for it. And that's when the commercial element, I think, can come in, because I've struggled with that myself. I just really, if I did exactly what I wanted to do every day, I'd take people on a walk and I'd get a journal and a book and we'd do some creative writing exercises, and that'd be it. But my magical mind is thinking, how the hell do I make money out of this? And how is it sort of commercially viable for me to replace what I do in my day job as a copywriter for other businesses? And I think I don't know if you found this. You sort of battle with yourself a little.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And I have good and bad days about it.
Yeah.
Today, 100% a good day.
Yeah.
I'm going to take on the world.
Yeah. Which is what we should be like every day, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think the success needs that belief, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And because you had, didn't you go and see a coach at some point? You had
I'm always
a visionary exercise. Was that not your
about my
sort of?
Yeah. I was working with a coach, and she got me to do an exercise about what I saw myself doing in 5 years' time. And I'd just been to Mull, and I'd been hanging out with an adventure guide there, someone that I met when I was an Instagram coach. He had an Instagram account. We'd become friends. And when I went up to Mull, he was like, let me take you on an adventure. And I heard all about his story. He was in his 50s. He was from Sevenoaks, and he'd owned a load of camera companies or something. And I just got fed up of it 5 years ago, sold them all, and trained as a mountain guide, and moved to Mull with his girlfriend and set up there as a mountain guide.
Yeah.
And his life was a lot simpler, and he absolutely loved what he did, and it just emanated out of him.
Yeah.
So happy. And Mull was so beautiful. It really inspired me and my partner, and you just saw that there was another way.
Yeah.
And I think that fed into this vision that I created with my coach of me and my partner running a micro-adventure business in 5 years' time. Because already my life had got quite adventurous.
Yeah.
Since I've been running my own business for the last 7 years, it's enabled me to go out in the Peak District a lot more, try lots of things, wild dipping, whatever. And I sort of just have such a need to be in nature. And I noticed when I took Instagram clients out with me in nature, we came up with better results.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Kind of like, maybe there's something in this. Maybe I could do something with this.
Yeah.
And it was so wonderful doing that vision exercise, because after doing that, I was like, right, I'll set this up in 5 years' time. And I started making moves towards this micro adventure future, but without feeling under any pressure.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'm going to take up paddleboarding. I'm going to try a wild camping. I'm going to connect with lots of people online who are into this kind of, more wilderness lifestyle. Just started trying lots of things, buying bivvy bags so I could sleep out in the open.
Not done that yet.
Yeah. And then last June, my dad died, and that brought up a couple of things. Firstly, it kind of focuses your attention quite a bit about what matters. And I was like, do you know what? Instagram coaching, not really enjoying it. It was sucking the life out of me, to be honest. And I finally, things like death help you just admit things like that.
Yeah, it's help you to see things that are probably less clouded.
Yeah.
And in more clarity would be a better way to say it, wouldn't it? And the vulnerability and preciousness of life as well. Yeah.
And also because I spent quite a bit of time away from Instagram sorting out his probate and all the rest of it, and around his death, I was like, this is great. Yeah. I mean, the situation was grim, but having the excuse not to be on Instagram constantly was like, oh my God, what a relief. And also because I got a bit of an inheritance. So I was like,
Yeah, a little bit
my
of a
coach,
step.
yeah. And my coach at the time was like, how about you just become a micro adventurer right now?
Yeah.
Why don't you just start that business?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God.
Part of you was saying, I can't do that.
It terrified me. My identity was so wrapped up in being an Instagram coach, which is incredible for me to think now. Like a year ago, I couldn't conceive of not being an Instagram coach.
Yeah.
It did feel like, no. Yeah, and it's amazing how much, I don't know, you get recognition from that title and all sorts of things. And it was like, oh, I'd be going into a wilderness.
Yeah, it's almost like letting go of a certain part of your identity, isn't it? Even though you're fighting to do that and seek out freedom in a way. Because being an Instagram coach, I can imagine there's probably quite a lot of, you've got to be there every day. You've got to show up. And really, is that for you or is that for Instagram? And is that the followers on Instagram? Who are you showing up for? And not necessarily yourself. So there's quite a lot of uncertainty about the future, but I guess by doing it now, as your coach was saying, you're exploring and experimenting while you're then turning that into a business.
Yeah, and I mean, it felt terrifying. I felt like I jumped off a cliff.
Yeah,
I was just like, who do I think I am? At that stage, I didn't even have insurance. Terrified about doing the risk assessments. I didn't know if I could get insurance. Yeah, I felt like a massive imposter. And yeah, for quite a while, I was just like paralyzed with fear. But I think that's any big change, you're going to experience that level of fear. And that's a sign it's a good thing. Like, if big changes were easy, but like they wouldn't mean anything.
Yeah. And we'd all be swapping and changing careers all over the place. We'd all be moving and living in a different country every year. And because we just wouldn't fear any sort of consequences we're doing. I think part of that sometimes is you've got to lean into that fear, haven't you? And because I quite often think now, so when I feel a little bit nervous in my belly, sometimes it's nerves of fear, but it's also nerves of excitement, and it feels the same. So just to take the positive out of that situation and lean into it and explore, create.
I think thinking about it now, it's that feeling of like being a mess.
Yeah.
Because I had status as an Instagram coach, people need to ask me for advice. I was knowledgeable, I was experienced.
Yeah, you felt very good.
Yeah, and then going to zone where you're like, I don't know what I do. Help me. Like, that's uncomfortable to go into as an adult, like being that vulnerable.
Yeah, you've got a bit of an excuse, haven't you, when you're a child and when you go to education and you're learning new things, and if you slip up, fine, that's just part of the learning process. Whereas an adult, we're sort of expected to know how to behave, what to do, and be this sort of perfect person in the way that we do things and what we do all the time. Whereas that's not
change is a mess. And you're gonna not know what you're doing, and you're gonna be terrified, and sometimes you're gonna be angry and confused and regret things. That's part of it.
And I think and just acknowledging that fact and saying, well, okay, fair enough, that it is what it is, let's just go after it anyway. Instead of making it big enough to say, okay, I'm not going to deal with it because I don't want to go through the mess, or I don't want to be that person that's not recognized anymore, or the oracle on such a thing.
And I totally understand why we go with better the devil you know. Because as human beings, we like predictability, even if it's bad predictability.
Yeah, definitely. So what are some of the things that are going to be up and coming for you then? You've got the paddleboarding now, which people are asking about. You're doing the hikes and things and the wild water swimming. What else is there something else that you've got in the pipeline that
I'm very excited about kind of slowly building a female community.
Mm.
And I don't exactly know what that's going to look like, but I have got a lot of interest because I've been talking to people about it. And the idea is to sort of have events that people can just dip into when they're available and if the event appeals to them. Like things like I go climbing, indoor climbing a lot, and I've got a great relationship with a female instructor, and we're going to put on a climbing event. It's only going to be open to 6 women, and it's going to be a beginner's session for 6 women to come along and try climbing. And it'll be a very safe environment. And it's good because my community know me, so they know that I'll be there to support them and encourage them. And also Shelley, the instructor, is the most friendly, encouraging person ever. And what I want to do is to have that climbing session and then take people for a coffee and a cake afterwards, where we can talk a bit about, you know, how did that feel? And maybe how can they get a bit more adventure into their lives? And I just want to run a series of events like that, where I'm not necessarily the qualified person leading the event, but I've built a relationship. So that would be, you know, I'd love to take people surfing to Surf Snowdonia, you know, because they're guaranteed waves, and to just do a similar thing there. And they might be very tiny groups, or things like, I can do that with paddleboarding. I could do that with snowboarding at the Manchester Chill Factor. Just, again, anything I fancy doing, really. I mean, for me, that obviously isn't going to be, at this stage, how I'm going to earn money. Like, I'm looking to be delivering corporate work for my income. And I want to just see how this female community develops, because I love the idea of it. I love creating a community where women start to meet other women who want to try things. Because imagine if you end up with a host of friends. You're all on the same page about wanting to try things. And it's not about, oh, here's a load of athletes, people who are super confident, who can like pick up a sport, like, you know, any old thing. No, it's about women who genuinely vulnerably want to try things, and they don't need to be sporty. It's about the spirit of encouragement. Because if you go and try things like that, even if you're rubbish, that spirit of trying things and being in a community where you're just building that solidarity, it will have ripple effects.
And like you say, it doesn't matter if you're rubbish at it. You've had the experience, and it's what you gain out of that experience, how it makes you feel. And if you've done that with, you know, other like-minded women that are just willing to go out there and try and be adventurous, and coming back to sort of the creativity point, releasing that creativity and seeing how much more creative they can be, and sort of, you know, loving life by doing this sort of thing. Then that's kind of the end goal, isn't it? You don't have to be qualified to do something. You don't necessarily have to make $1 million from doing something like this. It's just coming together, experiencing something, feeling great about it, and then having something to talk to over a coffee and cake or something at the end of it. And who knows where that might lead as well, because, you know, the women potentially will do it for themselves, but they're going to have, you know, links to other people and other groups and other companies and organizations, and the corporate side can grow quite organically for you and for them, with other opportunities as well. I think it's a great idea.
I'm excited. And I mean, we've got other things, you know, like we do this thing called Cakey Walk, me and my partner Jamie, which is every couple of months we do a walk. It's just 4 miles long. It's just a social where Jamie bakes a lovely cake. We have tea or coffee and cake on the walk. And it's quite, at the moment, it's very small. Few people turn up for it on a Saturday, and it's so gentle and intimate. But it's fun, you know, we have a laugh, but then we have these really honest, heartfelt conversations. And I think there's something about being outside that just encourages that. And then such a bonding thing, sitting around drinking tea and eating homemade cake.
Yeah.
Like, it's just lovely.
Yeah, it's just going back to our roots, isn't it? You know, you're outside, you're free from technology, you're free from distractions and all of that man-made stuff that just really gets in the way from you and having a pleasant, enjoyable day. And yeah, having a conversation, having a homemade cake, so you know what ingredients have gone in as well, so it's quite healthy. And yeah, who doesn't like to have a sip of a hot brew and a natter?
And it's amazing how simple that formula is, and how powerful, and the sheer joy and confidence boost of bonding with some new people. It's just incredible.
Yeah. I did an experience in April where myself and a friend, we went down to Cornwall, Devon, sorry, and we did an eco psychology course, like therapy. And it was 3 days camping, and we were just immersed ourselves in the countryside. So everything was switched off. I mean, there was no signal anyway, even if you'd have tried. And we just went out, we did different exercises. I think there was 9 or 10 of us in total anyway. And yeah, we just bonded. Some of them were foragers. So they gathered a lovely salad for us one night that we had with some pasta. And I think you're just able to sort of almost access, I don't know if different parts of your brain is the right way to say it, but you kind of access different areas to you just talk. Yeah. You find that the conversation is just completely different to if you were to go to a cafe and have a cappuccino or something with someone. It just seems to be a whole lot more there.
And I think, it calms your nervous system down. You feel safe. You're able to open up in a more intimate way. And as human beings, we just need that. We need to feel seen.
Yeah.
And safe and supported. And it's just like the formula is so simple, yet it's so lacking in our lives.
It is. I've started to really sort of notice how much of a distance is starting to form between kind of outdoors, Mother Nature, if you like, and the modern Western way of being. And I think there's certain people, like you and me, and probably people who are even more extreme, that, strive to really get back to our roots almost. And then there's other people that just can't be arsed with that. And, they just want the latest gadget and to make life more convenient. And it's sort of, to me, it's not natural. It's not how we evolved.
Yeah. And I think I've just gradually, over the last 7 years, just immerse myself more and more but it's been a very subtle process. And I just think, I don't know, it's an addiction, isn't it? Like, and
it is,
and I look at how I used to live, and I was like that. I was addicted to all those kind of trappings and stuff. And I think it just takes education and exposure to kind of wake other people up, because we all need it desperately.
Yeah. We all need a cleanse and a detox from the digital world or just the modern world, because everything is just moving more away from the natural side of things, of convenience foods that we eat, the way that we buy things. We could just sit down all day, couldn't we? And everything that we need could come to us.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have to do anything. So I think for some people it's kind of it's hard almost to get outside and to make an effort to try new things, because there's so much out there that makes it convenient for us not to be in that frame of mind and just to have things come at us. That there's got to be
scary. It's scary for a lot of people, and I think I forget that as well, because I think even before I wasn't so into the outdoors, I think my upbringing meant that I wasn't scared of the outdoors, because my parents didn't own a car. My dad, to be honest, was quite feral. I was just thrown into it.
Yeah.
So I think I'm not scared of insects. I'm not scared of dirt. I'm not scared of unfamiliar surroundings. And actually, I think a lot of people aren't very exposed to that. So it can be quite scary. And I think that's something I have to be empathetic about. Just because I don't really get it doesn't mean that it's not really real for a lot of people.
It is a thing. It's a barrier for them to be able to get out there and enjoy things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I know somebody who I took her for a walk, and because I didn't know exactly where I was going, she completely freaked out.
Oh, right.
And I was like, well, we can actually see the campsite where we came from. We can see it.
Yeah.
The fact that I don't know exactly where we're going shouldn't really be a problem. I mean, maybe if we were in Peru or something.
Yeah.
But we were like a 10-minute walk from our campsite.
Yeah. But that whole getting lost as well is part of the experience. I mean, I go walking and running all the time, and particularly if it's me that's organised the route and I'm the one navigating, we always get lost.
Yeah. And I'm just not fazed by being lost. Except once when it was getting really dark. Like, that's the only occasion in many, many years when I was a little bit like, this could be a bit dicey, but most of the time it's really not a problem.
Yeah, and you've got
enjoy.
Exactly, yeah. And there's the tools to be able to find out where we are as well, isn't there? You know, there's the navigation routes that we can follow, and again, just relying on, you know, where the sun is in the sky and the points that I mean, I don't know how to do this, I'd love to learn, but how you can sort of find out where you are just by looking at things in nature. Yeah.
But that's it. I think thinking about this friend, like, her life is so driven by control and stress that in that situation, not feeling completely in control was just too much for her. And I don't think that's uncommon.
No, I mean, there's an element of that in me. It's more so if I'm, well, when I look back on my business, and I grew a couple of times, I had members of staff and they were all great, but I have always been a bit of a control freak. I have real problems delegating certain things, and you can't grow a business trying to keep hold of everything that's going on. It's impossible. And you know, where I look back now and I see lots of different areas in life where I thought, well, it's because you couldn't let control. That's why things, you know, didn't work out the way that they did. And now I'm much more relaxed about things, and I just kind of think, oh, you know, everything happens for a reason, and we're exactly where we need to be on the path that we're going. You know, we'll get there, and however long it takes is however long it takes. That I am much more chilled about things. I don't worry about stuff the same anymore, and life is so much easier.
Yeah, I think we've all got a control freak in us, haven't we?
Yeah, we just need to get outside a bit more, stay creative, just to override it a little bit. Brilliant. So what are ways, if people want to get in touch with you and come on a micro adventure, or just stay in touch with you to know what you've got planned in the future, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
I am very active on Instagram, and that's at Katya's KATYAS _microadventures. And then our website is katyasmicroadventures.co.uk.
Brilliant. So people can reach out to you there. We'll include all of that in the show notes anyway, so that people can connect and learn more and get just as much excitement talking to you as I do. So yeah, thanks for coming on the podcast. It's been absolutely amazing to talk to you, and I'm sure that there's many more chances that we can get to speak and share the different micro adventures that you've been on. So yeah, thank you very much, Katya.
Thank you, I've loved it.
Thank you for listening to today's Writing with Purpose podcast. Having conversations with fellow writers or adventure enthusiasts brings two of my biggest loves in life together: writing and nature connection. I've been a copywriter and content creator for 23 years, but my passion is writing for well-being, and I'm on a mission to share the benefits that putting pen to paper has for personal wellness with as many people as possible. If you want to learn more about writing for your well-being and journaling techniques, please connect with me in my Facebook group, Journaling with Anna.